The Maestro.
I know that.
That's it. That's it. That's it.
The Maestro.
The Maestro. Dirty.
Come on, y'all.
Really? I think that would be cool though. Why? The Maestro.
Shorts. Oh.
Let it go.
How about you hold it?
There's a lady in the waiting room. She got legs that run forever and drop dead by.
Welcome to my Dirty Shorts, or Maestro's, or I'm Maestro, so yeah, welcome to Maestro's Dirty Shorts. And let's talk about the comparison game, something that's seemingly spoken about a lot, but rarely placed in context. And because of that, there are arguments that ensue where the two parties are arguing about a very different set of facts. And let's talk about how that argument never really goes anywhere, because you are talking about two different sets of facts. Sometimes somebody will bring up a player and say, this player is the greatest player of all time because they won this many championships. And then someone else will say, well, no, this player is the greatest player of all time because they scored this many points. When you get into that conversation, no one's going to be right. Why? Championships are one thing, scoring points are something else. And I'm not saying that one does not lead to the other, but when you start comparing them, this is actually the true sense of apples to donuts, two completely different things. You can say a player's career as defined by championships and where they rank. That will not be a false statement. And you take two players and say, well, this player won this many championships and this player did not. And you can talk about their roles on their teams that led to those championships, but do not talk about the physical attributes as they apply to that, because championships are won by what? Teams. The other thing that I tend to hear a lot in arguments that really goes nowhere is when someone says this person has a game style like player X. And then the rebuttal becomes, oh, are you crazy? That guy won all these, this guy scored all his points, or he won all those championships, or he did, or she did. And that was nowhere near the point of the initial statement. Players can have similar physical attributes, but the points, the championships, the stats are outcomes of other factors. It doesn't mean that one player is so different that is why those things happen. They can still be very similar in game, and one player can be better than the other player or in a better team than the other player, and that's where those championships and those other things come from. Across modes, if you want to get mathematical about it, those arguments across modes really take us nowhere. So when you find yourself in that conversation of who's the greatest player of all time, qualify that statement with some attributes that are measurable, that can now be spoken about as someone mentions someone else. And oh, by the way, if your argument is just because, you have effectively wasted everyone's time, because now we're not having a mature conversation about what players are and what they're able to do. And the whole point of this whole thing, we're talking about sports. We're talking about athletes. It's supposed to be fun. Yes, it can get heated because people have nothing else to do. Yes, a lot of things can happen because people just become themselves, but it's supposed to be fun. I love conversations with people who I disagree with. Why? Because I'm going to learn something from a different point of view. That's why when I get in those conversations with my colleagues, people like the Blazer, people like Siege, people like Marsh, people like Big Bob, people like Elava, all these conversations, when we have come in with a different point of view, I learn. And I get a chance to look at the things that I thought about through a different lens. And that is win, win, win across the table. share in the comments below, if you would, a conversation you've had between players that maybe was fruitful for you. The comparison of the greatest player of all time, the greatest center of all time, the greatest guard of all time, etc., etc., etc. It could even be in something in another sport. What conversations have you had where you talked about players and you found yourself talking about two different things as you were trying to argue the same point? Drop a line and share that, and it's going to be hopefully insightful for yourself to make you a better judge of the game as you bring more knowledge to the table. Speaking of knowledge to the table, why in the heck is there a love scene in a movie like The Purge?
Oh, wait, you want me to read?
Thank you for listening to the Maestro.
Thank you again for checking out the Maestro's Dirty
Shorts.
Drop a tag below and give us a piece of your mind. See you next time and
Is it last call? Have you seen my glasses?
The Maestro. Dirty.
Shorts!